Information discussed on Talkin Money with Jeff Tarbell is believed to be from reliable sources. However, no responsibility is assumed for inaccuracies. No statement made on this broadcast should be construed as a specific recommendation of a particular investment product. Views expressed are those of the speakers and do not necessarily represent those of CBS Radio. Use only as directed.
Smiles, everyone. Smiles. And prepare yourself for...
Show me the money!
Ladies and gentlemen, the radio broadcast experience designed to keep your wallet in top condition. It's Talkin Money with Jeff Tarbell.
Talkin Money. Talkin Money.
More money, more money, more money.
And now entering the studio, your guru for fiscal fitness, Jeff Tarbell.
You're right. How you doing? We are back live on a Saturday. I had to come all the way back down to the studio again. This is throwing me off here. I usually let Johnny come down here and I hang out in the Placer County office. But John's still on vacation. We got a couple rookies in today, so we'll have to get them on the radio here in a little bit. Speaking of rookies behind the glass, there, what shirt you got on today? Which soccer shirt do you have on today?
No soccer shirt today.
You know, I got to say something which it's just going to kill me. That you actually might have been right about something, and I don't, to say that out loud is almost makes me want to get off the air.
What's that?
I actually semi-enjoyed some of the soccer. Damn it.
Yeah.
Damn it.
When you see that flag on there, you can't help but get a little patriotic.
And that's what I'm trying to figure out is it just because I'm voting, I want the U.S. to win or but I caught myself watching like another game. I don't even know who the teams were, and it irritates me.
The news came out too that Sacramento was third in the ratings for the Germany-U.S. game.
Is that right?
Yeah, behind New York and Washington D.C.
And how that's amazing, and how perfect is the timing for Sacramento Republic's first season. I mean, you talk about throwing it in the bandwagon there. So what's on your mind? And then I got a quiz question for you. Go ahead, Chris. What's on your mind there today?
Well, getting away from soccer a little bit.
Oh, no.
The Kings had their draft on Thursday. They got Nick Stauskas. I didn't know much about him. I haven't been able to watch that much college basketball, and I think a lot of people are with me. But it's insane when you go on Twitter, when you hear callers calling into the station, when you see text messengers. It's either the greatest pick that we've ever made in Kings history or the absolute worst. We should have just gotten like a high schooler around here. That would have been better. And I guarantee 99% of the people have maybe watched 2 minutes of this guy.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what it is. I think it might be like the Twitter type mentality where you need to be right. You have to say something immediately or it doesn't count. Like,
right.
He's terrible and I'm going to be right. And if you're wrong,
nobody remembers
that.
Yeah.
So I think people need to relax. He just got here last night. So
you're not new to Sacramento, Chris. This is always how it is. Everybody here is an expert on everything.
Yeah. So hopefully he proves some haters wrong.
I mean, you're not going to draft anybody, even if you have the first pick, that's going to change your team. And I mean, unless LeBron comes back.
LeBron's not in this draft.
He's not in this particular draft. So so here's my quiz question for you, Chris. This is called the agony and the agony. The world rankings of flopping. So the Vlade Divac of soccer. Now they this is so funny. They lined up each country. They counted up the number of injuries, and then they added up, which is my favorite part, the writhing time, the time they spent on the ground, writhing around like they had been shot with a bullet through the back of the skull, and they didn't quite kill him; it just nicked him. So, you want to give me the number one country who has the most injuries, and I'll give you. They have 3 minutes and 18 seconds of time, writhing around on the ground, but 17 injuries so far from this team.
I'm gonna guess Italy.
Italy is not even in the top.
Oh, that's a shock.
Yeah, they're not even in the top 10. I'll give you let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4.
How about France?
France is not in the top 10 either.
Argentina
is not in the top 10 either.
We got to think of a team that's been losing.
You got to think of a team who's hosting the event.
Oh, Brazil?
Yes. So they're going for the number one. So Brazil, Chile, Honduras, Nigeria, Mexico, Costa Rica, USA. USA in there with 12. So there's your top 5 or 6.
See, I will give the U.S. Of course, I'm a homer for the U.S., but they've had 2 broken noses.
That's
far.
That's a real injury.
And a pulled hamstring. So,
but they didn't get bit or bite. And then part 2. So if you think people take soccer serious or they do not take soccer serious, I can tell you they take it serious. 20 years ago this week, actually this is the 20th anniversary. Chris, do you know the name? Oh God, I just lost it. Andres Escobar?
Yeah, he was a defender for Colombia.
And he inadvertently...
I thought he was a businessman in Colombia.
That was his cousin Pablo.
That was his cousin, yeah. 1994, the World Cup was held in Los Angeles. Mr. Escobar was a defender. He inadvertently deflected a cross pass from American John Harkis into Colombia's own goal. So he accidentally tipped the ball and went into his own goal. That they lost the game. I don't know if that cost them the game. Colombia lost the game for that. 2 weeks later, he's murdered outside a bar in Colombia.
I was going to say, I remember that.
Yeah, and even in Colombia, where almost everything goes, as far as everything goes, they consider it to this point today to be one of the biggest national disgraces of their own country. They killed one of their own. I mean, they didn't put a note on him and say this is why we killed him, but you make the most out of there. So there you go. So soccer is...
ESPN actually did a 30 for 30 documentary on it, and it's absolutely amazing, and it gives you everything that's going on at Colombia at the time, along with the team, and how the team was basically funded by Pablo Escobar. It's really insane.
Yeah, he was killed by what they think is a drug trafficker, and Pele had already come out and said, we think this team's going to... I mean, it was kind of like when the Kings were supposed to win the championship a few years ago, and we blew it in the 7th round, but nobody ended up dead from that.
A dream team that ended up as a nightmare for that guy. Right?
Yeah, so that was kind of a sad ending. But so yeah, soccer is for real, and so this is the part I don't get. So get a little business here. If you wanted, so USA plays Tuesday, is that right?
Yes.
Now think about this, just from a pure money standpoint for ratings. You put that game on 4th of July, every damn household in this country would have that game on. I don't care what you're doing. If you don't like soccer, it's 4th of July, United States playing somebody. You put that on game on, is 4th of July Thursday, I guess, or Friday?
Friday.
That game was on Friday. It would blow the ratings apart in this country, but they don't have the same contract as the NFL has, obviously.
Well, if the U.S. wins, they will be playing on the 5th on Saturday.
That's the day after. That's like,
Well, everyone's got it off.
Well, I know, but I'm talking about, you got to have the whole patriotic thing. But you're right. If they play Saturday...
Sorry, the international event wasn't scheduled around the U.S.'s holidays.
Hey, they need to get with it, right? We had like 6 people that watched the game before now. So, all right, Chris, thank you very much. And Chris got the text line working today too, and you can text us at 441140. The phone line looks like it's working, 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. Got a couple radio rookies in with me this morning. To my left, and you're right on the radio, Brian Clark. I thought for sure you've been here before.
I have been here before.
It's been a while.
Yes.
Did you talk last time?
Yeah, I was here with Paul Petrovich years ago.
That was a long time ago.
When he had talked about his development and all
Yeah,
the
and
things
his-
he went through with baseball and his
$1 million train set and all that.
Yeah.
Okay, so it has been a while. See, after 3 years, it just goes away. You got to requalify.
I'm glad to be back.
Yeah,
Thanks.
good to see you, Brian. John Kempfer has joined us also this morning. John is with us at Comstock Mortgage and also been. You do a lot of stuff for what used to be CAM, which is now CAMP, which used to be NAM, which is now NAMP, and
No, it's still NAM.
oh, still NAM. Okay, good.
Yeah. But yeah, with CAMP, I've been with them since 1992.
And that's the Association of Mortgage Professionals now. Is that
Yeah.
right? Okay.
It used to be mortgage brokers, but
Yeah, they got rid of the broker term.
Well, because we wanted to open it up to everybody, just every mortgage professional in the business.
Plus, the word broker got really, really not so popular.
Right, and it was probably unduly assigned to them, that name. But when Obama came out and said mortgage brokers were absolutely responsible for all of the all the things that had happened in the economy, then that whole we just changed everything.
He failed to mention all the government that pushed us to do the loans.
Right.
But, why dilly on the details when you can get right to the crap?
Right.
And it's funny, even to this day now. So people will, if they refer to me as a broker, like hey, Jeff's a good mortgage broker. I'm almost like, hey. We're a mortgage banking firm. I mean, And there is a difference. I mean, the big difference for me is that as one of the owners of the company, is I'm on the hook for these things now. We broker, you kind of seem like, hey, here's your loan, good luck with it. You guys bought it, you touched it last, you got it. And in the mortgage banking world now, and really in some cases in the broker world, there is no such thing as you touched it last. You touched it at all, your fingerprints are all over it. You start adding, the NMLS, the licensing, which follows each individual loan, and your work product sticks with you, and it sticks with you for the life of the loan. If you originated that loan and your number's on it, you own it. Maybe not financially, but it's going to come back on your record. And in the past, you'd see a guy or an individual who was maybe not doing things the way they should, and they would just leave the company, go somewhere else, and there was no way of kind of figuring out, what this person's abilities or capabilities are, or what their history is. And so I think that's good. So there's been some great changes out of it, some off the wall changes, but some good ones too. So
yeah, a lot of it is in '95 when they allowed certain people to come into the business that really didn't have a license to do loans. Then that started the downfall as far as brokers are concerned. Because I was a broker for 20 years before I became a mortgage banker in 2007, and we had a lot of options. We could do a lot of things, and yet we did have buyback stuff if fraud was involved or so forth and so on. But in general, it's been a fun run, and it's still running, and I enjoy the business immensely. So.
Yeah, I think that if you look backwards, the hurdle to get in the business in the past, there wasn't one. It wasn't a hurdle. Hurdle was a hole. If you fell in the hole and you wanted to do, to this day, I remember going to get my oil change on my car, and I could hear the guy talking, saying, after I finish changing the oil today, I'm going to go back to the office and get some loans done. It was, just fine. You got to get in the business somehow, but everybody did loans.
Right.
Everybody. And for the most part, the trouble that occurred from that, the people that are largely responsible for that, companies and individuals, are gone now.
Well, if you remember when we were under the Department of Real Estate in the beginning, and so you went and got your license at the Department of Real Estate, there was probably 2 math questions on there that dealt with anything in our business.
That's why I got 50% on that question.
It was multiple choice.
I had to go A or B. Damn it, I got B the whole time.
But I never could figure out why we had to have a Department of Real Estate license to do loans, but that's what it was at that time. So
yeah, well, they didn't know where else to put them. You could, back in the day, you could. And you still can. You could sell. You could be a real estate agent. You could represent someone as a buyer, and you could do their loan.
Right.
So, which means you were half-assed good at both.
Right.
Or
50%.
Yeah. And now today, I look at what the realtors are going through and all of the disclosures and things they have, and we only get a small portion of it. And I'm like, that you either need to do that and do it well, or do financing and do it well. But you can't do both, in my opinion. And be good at at either one of them. And there are some people who still try. But
well, there's still some people out there that are 1099 employees doing FHA loans that it's highly illegal. They don't tell anybody about this. And then there's also and I agree with you 100%. Are you great at selling real estate, or are you great at doing loans, or are you just good at just enough to get by on both ends of it? And so I know the realtors don't like that aspect of it, as far as somebody that does loans and does real estate also. So
well, nobody likes someone else who's in their bucket.
Right.
You want to, and you don't want competition where you don't have to have it, but I just think that it leads to unprofessionalism on both sides, and I don't know. What to each his own, I guess. You have to decide as a consumer what you want to do and who you want to deal with, and you just look at a single loan going through the process, and the number of things and the steps that have to occur on it takes a full-time amount of work. You look at our team between myself and Brian and Chris and Stephanie, and then it gets to the underwriter and all the different people that are have to put their little massage and their little tweak on it, and to think that at the same time we could also be trying to run the paperwork for all the inspections and trying to buy the house and do all that well,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Something's going to get missed.
Something's going to get missed, yeah. And it's going to come back and bite somebody, and it's generally the consumer. Something's going to get missed, and ultimately it's going to be the agent. But we can talk about that some more. We do have some phone lines open. I know people were trying to get in last week. We did a little bit of mortgage talk. I haven't done it in a while, and I guess because I do it all week, and I figure that I so much don't want to sound like an infomercial because everybody thinks that's all we do all the time is talk mortgages. I think I go overboard, and my wife said, I don't think you've said the word mortgage like in 3 years. And then we did a little bit last week, and then boy, boom! I got just a bunch of calls and questions about stuff throughout the week. So I figured, okay, the three of us can figure out something about mortgages we can talk a little bit about today. And I'm looking at the text line, and already texts are rolling up. So 44-1140 if you want to get your question in today. 339-1140 if you want to give me a call. We are going to do. Brian's got some quiz questions. We've got some River Cats baseball left, and I don't know, Chris, where are we in the season for the River Cats? Are we getting? Did they finish up July-ish?
No, they finish up in mid. I'm sorry, Chris. They finish
August.
Up
Okay. So
September 1st, their last game.
Okay, so we got some time yet. So I still have a lot of tickets left, and they had their first, I think, televised game Thursday night, and we gave out some tickets to that, and I guess it was just a great event, and maybe because there was free beer there too or something. I'm not sure. It all goes together. I'm good with all that.
National television, yeah.
Yeah, that was good. And then Brian's got some information on some Hellwig. Hellwig concert series is going to fire back up next month.
Yeah, it starts. First concert is the Little River Band, Australian band that we all know from the 80s.
Yeah.
And that concert is Saturday, July 12th. And I've experienced Hellwig a few times for their concert series. A fantastic venue, really beautiful. The concert starts about 8. You get up there and they have barbecue and all kinds of good things for you up there. But it's a fantastic place.
Now, you said Hellwig, not Hellweek, right?
Yeah, Hellwig.
Yeah, Hellweek is in college.
Yeah, Hellwig is in college. This is Hellwig.
Hellwig it is.
Yeah. So we're going to give away. I think we'll give away a pair of tickets to the first concert, Little River. You said July 12th.
July 12th, and the show is sold out. So these tickets are the last ones available. So
Sweet.
We'll have a few sets of them to give away today, if possible, and I'm sure you can give away some more next week.
Yeah, and we'll give away some River Cats too. To your choice, whichever you want to do that. So Brian's got a quiz question lined up for you there. We'll get to that in just a minute, and just a couple fun things. We'll come back and do some mortgage stuff. I did see. Bank of America, if there's any company, and I'm not a Bank of America fan, if there's any company that has just taken it in the shorts every single time they wake up, is Bank of America. And of course, the minute whoever is signed on to take on Countrywide, should be taken. Now, I still contend that it wasn't their fault. I still contend the federal government rammed Countrywide down their throat. They did. So I don't hold it against them, other than the fact that that almost buried them. I mean, to this day. But here you go. This news is about 30 days old, so I'm not sure what the final settlement was. But B of A, who's paid billions of dollars in mortgage settlements, is now discussing an $800 million pact over credit card issues with issuing credit cards to people and then pushing a bunch of add-on products to them. So another $800 million settlement on the table for B of A over the credit card issue. That only leaves student loans and ATM fees left to get after them. The only reason Bank of America is still in business is to pay all the fines to the government. Once the fines are set, they'll probably just shut down. I mean, I haven't looked at their stock value, but they have really taken an inordinate amount of abuse, and some of it deserved, a lot of it probably not. But $800 million on the table for B of A.
Well, they're making pretty good money paying 1% out on their savings and CDs right now. So,
yeah, they're not spending it in interest expense. That's for sure. Now, this comes out every year. This is always this kind of a fun summary. Where did the day go? They took an average breakdown of everybody's activities per day and broke them down by category. And I note, and I always get this, so there's a couple categories. We are sleeping more. We're sleeping 8 hours and 44 minutes, so we're up 10 minutes. Not Brian, but everybody else is sleeping more. We're watching TV more by about 10 minutes, and we're eating more by about a minute. Everything else seems to be down, and this is the one I don't get. The average work-related day, we're spending 3 hours and 28 minutes actually working. I'm fairly certain it's close to an 8-hour day for most people, and we're only getting a 3 hour and 28 minutes in your average day. So I'm not sure what we're doing the rest of the 5 hours, but it isn't working. Maybe it's eating. Our education went up by a minute, and our personal care went up by 2 minutes. Otherwise, we're doing less sports and activity, less shopping, and less household-related items, and we're taking care of our family less. We're sleeping a little bit more, and we're not working 3 hours and 28 minutes. There you go. For those of you who own your own company, you might want to shut down the internet. But it doesn't. What surprises me is that internet activity wasn't.
Maybe lunch is 5 hours.
Well, it says we're only eating an extra 2 minutes, but I don't know. So I'm not sure what we're doing there. Hey, let's get into our first quiz question of the morning. Your selection, up to you. We'll give away, Chris. We'll give away 1 pair of Hellwig tickets. How many do we have, right?
You have 6. You have 6 pairs of tickets for the Little River Band.
Okay, so we'll give away 1 in this first break, and if you're into that, and we've also got some Sacramento River Cats baseball tickets. And if you don't know how those work, it's really great. You just go to the box office, and they'll give you the best seats in the house, and they're good for any home game. So they're not specific to any particular team. So you can go out there. I think Saturdays they're still doing the fireworks. So pick a game that works for you, and we'll give you out a pair of tickets to River Cats baseball. Chris, you can take a couple 3 winners if you want. Just keep it to the 1 Hellwig. 339-1140, or you can text us at 44-1140. I got a couple text questions lined up. I'll read those during the break and answer those when we come back. What do you got on your plate there, BC?
Well, this event happened 100 years ago today, and the poor Archbishop Franz Ferdinand was assassinated on June 28th, 1914, and that assassination led to a pretty big event worldwide, and the question would be, what was that event?
So Franz Ferdinand?
The Archbishop.
Bishop. So that's like a Lincoln. Well, that'd be after Lincoln.
He was one of the power brokers in Europe at the time, and
someone shot him.
Somebody shot him in his sleep, and the rest became a big historical event that we were all impacted by.
So what 100 years ago today? Two shots heard around the world caused what event? If you know the answer to that, 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. You can text us at 44-1140 if you'd like, and you can just sit there like myself and look stupid. I mean, I wouldn't. I don't know if I'd have got the answer to that. I didn't do well in history.
I think you're going to need a little help, but I think it's out there.
You think it's out there? We could goggle it. We can goggle it, and we'll get it. We're going to take it. We got phone lines already lined up. Maybe it was too easy. This is why I'm in the mortgage business, not in the history business. We'll take a quick break. This is Talkin' Money. I'm Jeff Tarbell. We're going to be right back, Jack.
Talkin' Money.
And we're back. It's Talkin' Money with Jeff Tarbell.
That's my name, Jack. How you doing? We are live on a Saturday, a week before 4th of July. The U.S. soccer on Tuesday. We did get a bunch of winners, a bunch of history buffs out there. So just as a reminder, because we haven't done the text in a while, if you're texting us at 44-1140 and you want to win something and you want us to get a hold of you, you have to text in your full phone number or your name and address, because we don't get the full phone numbers anymore. But we did get 3 winners. And the question again was, 100 years ago today, 2 shots were fired into whom?
Into the Archbishop Ferdinand and his wife Sophia.
And they're going in their little custom cart, and someone jumped up and popped them, huh?
It was a sort of a planned political group that was trying to
Go ahead. You're right.
Trying to break off their alliance so that again, another political group could take over. And they were shot and assassinated in their carriage.
And that led to World War I.
It did.
World War I. And you look at if we ever look back in history, we'd be surprised how many times we repeat it. But you had 2 small countries feuding, and then 2 bigger countries decided they'd have to support the 2 small countries, and then the other countries had to support the bigger countries. And next thing you know, we're in a big mess. That almost sounds familiar. Almost. I'm trying to think where I can put that to. But anyways, there you go. We got 3 winners to that. We did give away 1 pair of tickets to the Hellwig concert, a couple River Cats. So we'll do that again about 10 or 15 minutes from now. On the text line, a couple questions coming in. Hey, Jeff, for about $90,000 currently undervalued on our house. We did use our HARP 1 to refinance. We'd like to sell and move. And our bank won't let us short sell because we're so good at making our payments. So that is the damned if you do, damned if you don't. How do you get a bank to consider your short sale if they think you're a good customer and you won't leave? And certainly in the past, initially, you really had to prove to them you were going to stop making payments and default on the loan. And that may be what you have to do in this case too. Sometimes, and I mean sometimes, you can, if you can find a realtor who's good with short sales, knows kind of what the package should look like and how that should be put together, you can find a good realtor who can assist you with that. And you got to have some compelling reason, right? I've lost my job, I'm being transferred, downsizing, upsizing, something that leads them to believe that you're just not trying to bail on that house and go buy something down the street. Otherwise, they're going to probably force you to be delinquent, and then I guess it's who blinks first in that case. This is the problem you've got. This has come up a couple times this week. Recall that currently the mortgage tax break for mortgage debt relief has expired. And that means, in this scenario here from the 916, if you give your house back, even if you give it back to them as a short sale and they agree to it, or they foreclose on it, or there's some combination thereof, which I don't know what that would be, you're going to get the 1099 or 1098 or 1090 something, 1099 probably.
Yeah, 1099.
1099 for $90,000 debt relief. Now, prior to this year, and maybe, and I use the quotes, maybe, that will be extended, but I would not hold your breath on it. You're going to have to make a business decision now that you may be attributed $90,000 in income for that debt relief. So before you make that call, and for anybody else out there who needs to make that call, you probably ought to check with a CPA and ask them, what would $90,000 or $50,000 or $150,000, what would that mean to me in terms of what would I owe? Because it's income, which means there's tax on it. How can I spread it out? What are my options? You need to get some of that professional advice going forward, please, before you make that kind of decision, because that could throw you into a bigger issue, which is an issue with the IRS. And I'd rather dink around with a lender than the IRS, because the IRS doesn't seem to have a lot of give. Even if they don't lose your email, they'll probably still find you. And so what do you guys, you guys see anything different than I do there?
Well, there's a bill right now in Congress that it's kind of stalled right now, but they're trying to move it forward. I don't have the number right now on that bill, but it is they're still looking at it, and how what Congress is that they're not probably going to pass anything major with the elections coming up
right.
and everything else, so that nobody wants to go forward and
stick their neck out there.
Yeah, and all of a sudden something happens, and now I was wrong, and now I don't have my seat anymore in Congress because I made that decision. So now IRS is I think it was in September of last year, the IRS and the state of California said that they would be okay with that. There would not be any recourse on this coming back on them. But I think IRS is rethinking this now.
Yeah, and we had a CPA on a couple weeks ago. We talked about purchase money versus refinance,
right.
recourse and non-recourse financing and loans. And that's why I say check with your CPA and give them all the details. Hey, this was the loan I bought the house with. It's a non-recourse loan. And there's been some conflicting messages back and forth. I think even Barbara Boxer or Dianne Feinstein, one of the two of them, sent a letter from California saying, hey, California's looking at it this way. We just want to make sure that you, the IRS, are looking at it this way also. And they came back and said, oops, maybe we're not sure. We're going to, accept that it's a non-recourse loan, so we're going to let you off the hook. So there's a lot of, it's a big nut. I mean, to be wrong for $90,000 is on a tax rate could be $30,000 or $40,000 wrong in terms of tax you owe. So make a couple more payments and figure out what the heck you're getting into.
I think a lot of homeowners have stayed the course because that's their principle, that to keep paying their mortgage statement, that the market's going to recover, and the market has recovered.
Yeah,
we are seeing home prices move up, so I think a lot of people have stayed, and I think also the reality is the debt relief, mortgage debt relief, if it was going to happen, I know John said there's a bill in place right now. Typically, over the last couple of years, that happened at the end of the prior year.
Yeah, they retroactively, but I wouldn't bet $100,000 on it.
Right.
And here's the other thing. Brian and I deal with this all the time. There's people who you certainly have the option in the 916 there of looking at renting out your existing house, and buying something else and see if you can qualify for something else, and keep the house and put a tenant in there. Now, you don't have any equity in the house, so you can't
write it off.
Well, you also you may not be able to use the rental value, the rental income you get to offset that payment to qualify, unless, and there's a big unless you move out of it, convert it to a rental, establish a rental history of it, and I would say at a minimum 4 to 6 months, or ideally right now we're got 6 months in the year. Put a tenant in there now, rent it out through the end of the year, put it on your tax return as a rental. We can use the rental income to help you offset it. So you may not have that much more to qualify for on the next house. So there's other things you can do. So I guess before I completely gave up and went into the short sale world, or foreclosure world, even worse, I would talk to a mortgage lender. Hey, can I qualify for another house and keep this one too? Okay, yes or no. If not, if I put a renter in there, when could I qualify? And if not, okay, then you got to make a business decision. Do I really want to talk to my CPA, and do I really want to let this thing go or not? And I would say that for all of you who push on the short sale option, if you have to go that route, rather than just letting it foreclose, because the bank will foreclose whenever the hell they feel like it. And I mean that it may be 2 or 3 years before they get around to it. And for those of you that went into bankruptcy and the lender quit calling you, because by law they're required to quit calling you, and you just assumed because of the bankruptcy discharge that everything was all fine and good, I tell you, there's been some real rude awakenings for people who have found out the bank are just now foreclosing on their house that was bankrupt 2 years ago. And all of the waiting periods start from the last event. So your bankruptcy was in 11. You're, okay, hey, 14, I'm 3 years out, I'm good, right? Well, we pull up the deed on your previous house, and guess what? They decided to foreclose on it last summer. You're only a year out on a foreclosure. It's just a whole different, it's a different world. And so you have to be aware of what's going on and don't give up. I mean, keep pushing until you know this has been resolved.
Right. And bankruptcy, same thing. Well, you got to make sure that when it was actually discharged, not when you thought when you started it and then 6 months later it's discharged, and now all of a sudden you got to wait another 6 more months.
Yeah.
So it's got to be careful.
Plus, conceptually, people are in their houses, they're making their payments. The concept of stopping making your payments when you can afford that payment, and then causing all the problems that's going to cause for your credit and everything else. And then rentals. I mean, rentals are expensive as well. I'm not talking about being the landlord side of rentals, which is something you have experience with. But the going out and finding a new home, doing the rental, the cost of renting the new home, the uncertainty, and all those other things. If you can stay in the house, figure out a long-term approach to staying in that house. We've seen the market recover in values 20% last year in certain neighborhoods, and even more. And this year it's going to be a little bit less. At least that's the expectation. But if you can stay the course, I think you're better off.
Maybe that caller needs to call a real estate agent and actually find out what his house is really worth before maybe he's just assuming that he's 90,000 under.
Yeah.
So
there's a little bit of homework to do there, but hopefully that helps a little bit. That was a great text question. I got a couple more I'll get to. I'll read during the break. We got to take another quick break. You got another quiz question lined up for us?
Oh, we do.
Okay.
This is something that an industry in the United States, and I think worldwide, that is suffering a malady that they're not quite sure what's caused it. So the simplest thing I can tell you is that President Obama just added a $50 million budget line to help this industry out, and it has something to do with agriculture and how things are pollinated.
It's a real mystery what's going on. Nobody can seem to figure out. But the ag industry is in a slight panic about some issues they're having. So there's a $50 million line item added to the budget for 2015 to help try to counteract the problem. What is the problem we're talking about? Little Colony needs some assistance there. 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. You can text us at 441140. Remember, if you're going to text us to win, you got to give us at least your full phone number or your name and address. We have another pair of tickets to Hellwig. Who's the band, Brian? Little River?
It's Little River Band, yeah, on Saturday night, July the 12th.
Yeah, so make sure you can go. That is sold out, so if you want a pair of tickets to that, make sure you can go. We got some River Cats tickets for whenever you want to go. This is Talkin' Money. Got a couple phone lines open if you want to jump in. 339-1140. 441140 is our text line. We'll be right back.
Talkin' Money.
we're back to Talkin' Money. And here's Jeff Tarbell.
Right. Lots of stuff going on. It's good to have the text line back up. I was missing that. We get a lot of activity on the texts, and I saw the phones were lighting up there too. So our quiz questions have been too easy today, BC. Too easy. Brian Clark, John Kemper, Jeff Tarbell. We are final segment of the day. Let me read off some text. So our quiz question was: there's going to line up $50 million in the next budget to help really bee pollination and the loss of the bee colonies, which is just flabbergasting. A lot of people. And you were saying they actually. They could bring a whole hive. They just like a traveling hive around the country. They bring them to California.
Yeah, for the almond industry, which does $6 billion in business in the almond industry in California alone. And when they do their pollination time frame in February and March, when the trees get pollinated, over 800,000 acres of almonds are done, and beekeepers from around the nation bring in 1.5 million hives, and the industry pays them $125 or $150 per hive. And for instance, there's a guy in Florida that has a couple 100,000 hives that he brings in. So they truck them in and they do their business, and then they truck them back home.
Maybe they're dying because they're just exhausted from travel.
Probably, yeah. Aside from that, yes.
You drive from Florida a few times a year.
That pollination stuff is hard business.
I'm telling you right now, the pollination is harder than it looks.
Come to California, have sex, and then drive
That's
back
right.
and then die.
But it is a big problem, and President Obama has introduced that line item, that $50 million. I'm pretty sure if they just got some more bees put together, that they could solve it a little cheaper. But
so here's my question: if I'm in a $6 billion industry in California alone, have they put up any money to figure out what's going? I mean, why do we have to rely on the federal government? $50 million is a snot rag for the U.S. government. But right. I mean, if I'm in a $6 billion industry, I would be funding my own figure out why the bees aren't pollinating survey. But that's just me.
It's a good question for Blue Diamonds. They're the largest.
No, I know.
In California,
they should be,
or in the nation.
They should be printing bees in those little 3D printers.
Sounds like a sweet business we could get into there.
I know we're in the wrong business. Off the text line, a couple things here. Anthony from Antelope, you texted me a couple times. You got to give us your full number, and we'll give you some Rivercast tickets. You want to do that, or your address, whichever you want. We're scrolling down to the bottom here. Jeff, looking at buying a 12-plex apartment complex. What's a good interest rate on a 12-plex unit? That's a commercial loan, and commercial financing runs a little differently. You don't generally get a 30-year fixed rate on a commercial loan. You get like a 5-1 ARM, and the reason the banks do that is they want to be able to adjust every few years with the market, and that could benefit you or it could hurt. You're going to go up or down with the market. Right now, I would say probably if you're going to put a rate in a pro forma, I'd probably use 4.5%, somewhere there, maybe 5%. And maybe that would be a little high, but it's going to adjust. About every 5 years it's a true commercial venture, and it's a commercial loan. Does that sound about close?
Yeah, I've done some apartment complexes before, and usually it's running about anywhere from a half to 3/4 point higher than what normally you would get on a 30-year loan. So, because it's commercial.
Yeah, so a 5 would be a good number for today.
Right,
and that'll adjust a little bit. Chris, can you shake my button there? My thing keeps going out. Sorry, thank you. Speaking of pollination,
we have a source for brokering out some commercial loans, right, at Comstock, don't we?
There's a couple guys there that do a little bit of commercial.
Yeah, I've done some.
John's done something. You can give John a call at Comstock. From the 916, do you expect home prices to drop when interest rates start moving up? And what are your feelings on the housing market over the next year? I think there's always a little bit of correlation between rates and home prices and values, a little bit. Now, obviously, if rates go up to 15%, home prices will go down just because people either can't afford to buy or you have to finance in the difference. It's a good example. Lincoln is a good example where prices are correlated to costs, and Lincoln has some sections that have some super high Mello-Roos fees. The taxes are inordinately higher than other areas. And you look so you see these houses out there where you look at this house, you're like, man, that is a really good price for that house. But when you do the math on it and you add in the almost double property taxes from across the street even, you realize the cost of owning it is about the same as paying more. So there is a correlation between financing costs and taxes and home values for sure. But you look at look at guys that were in the industry, before me, and John was probably doing it, where rates were double digits, and people were buying houses. If they feel good about their jobs and they feel good about the economy and their life, they'll buy it. I mean,
I know my first house that I purchased in '83 was I got a CHFA loan, which is Cal HFA now.
Yeah.
But that was at 9 7/8.
That was a screaming deal, huh?
Yeah, because VA was at 12, and the conventional loan was running around, and the house was too high for FHA because FHA was about 89,000 then, and this house was 105, and it was conventional was about 18 or 19%. So 9 7/8 was a good deal.
Was a screaming deal.
So I took that 5% down and a little bit of mortgage insurance, but that was it. So
yeah. So what? I mean, as a quick 30-second roundup, what's your thought on housing in the next year?
Well, my thought is that I think interest rates are going to stay relatively low. The signs of inflation are slight, but that's just the way it is. I think interest rates are going to stay relatively low. I think home prices in the area, it'll depend on the supply that's put on the market, the inventory a little bit too. But I think they're going to go up. The forecast is for 5 to 8%, depending on communities, and everything's different. San Francisco, I think, will be a little bit different than
they're a different animal
locally.
Not 5% at rates, 5% growth.
We have, as Jeff was mentioned and John mentioned too, we have some really great programs for that. I mean, we've got the CHDAT program, 100% financing, where you can get a grant for some of the closing costs. We've got bridge loan now that Comstock made available, so that people that are thinking, well, I want to drag a little more time into my house so I can get a little more appreciation and equity. Well, now's the time to do it. Rates are low. Housing is still very affordable, and so I think it's going to be a good market. I don't think it's going to look like it did last year, but it's going to be a good market.
Right. You'll see home appreciation. A lot of these economists are saying that we're going to be around 5% at the end of the year, which is still a great rate. I don't know. It just depends on what happens in the world as far as Iraq is concerned with oil. If we get into an oil crunch to a certain degree, then you're going to see inflation go up, which is the killer for rates. So, but right now it's looking good, it's staying right where it is, and it's a great time to buy no matter what. So,
yeah, I would contend that if we had a bigger supply of homes, we'd have everything that would come on the market would sell. And there's just still such a backlog of desirable buyers, particularly under $300,000, that if there was something for them to buy, they would buy it.
You're still seeing 5 or 6 offers on it every property.
And this, I'm just had a couple different articles here in front of me I've been carrying around, and one of them is the buyer traffic expectations. So they poll the real estate agents, and they say, what do you expect buyer activity at your open houses to be? And this spring, 2014, one of the low points, it rated a 40, which was below average for activity level at open houses. That leads you to believe that maybe there's not a lot of buyer interest. But I just think that there's just been so few homes that was interesting. Pending home sales are down a little bit in the spring. Change in home value since the end of 2011 for select markets. Las Vegas is up 50%. Sacramento up 35, it's almost 38% since 2011. That's number 3. It's Vegas, Riverside, Phoenix, Sacramento, Tampa. The U.S. on average is up about 10%. So our area has done well for recovery, and it's a two-sided coin because if it goes well for recovery, then the next buyer has to pay more. But we have all these houses locked up. Still, a number of houses locked up that are upside down that we need a little more appreciation so they can at least get to break even, so they could walk and just say, hey, I'm out, without having a short sale or foreclose. So you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. If prices go up, then we start pricing out first-time buyers and people coming back into the market. But we got to unleash the people that are still locked. So you need a little bit of both.
Well, and then where are those buyers going to really go? I mean, ultimately, lifestyles change, things change. People want to retire. Maybe they want to go to a different area. But I think what this downturn in housing had done over the last few years has reminded people that you're pretty good where you're at. Make it work, and eventually they'll have the opportunity to sell with some equity.
We did get a text. This was our gentleman earlier was asking about his short sale. He said, hey, just got the end of it. How do you get the audio of this show after it's over? I do post this show. Chris will send me a link to it, and we do post this show usually by Monday at the latest on the Talkin' Money Facebook page, and it's also there's a YouTube page for it also for Talkin' Money, so you can find it on YouTube or you can find it on the so just join the Talkin' Money Facebook page, and we'll have it posted there every week. You can also email me if you want. There are people who just get the podcast directly. It's jeff@jefftarbell.com, and we can put you on that podcast list if you want. So that music means we got to wrap it up. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us on a Saturday.
Sure.
Goes quick, doesn't it, John?
It does.
Yeah, see? We used to do 2 hours, but they paid me the same, so I'm like, well, I'll just do it in an hour then. I doubled my income. I went from $4 an hour to $8, so it was a huge deal for me.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it.
I'm glad you guys joined. John,
Thank you.
John Fodorero will be back next Saturday. I hope you have a great 4th of July and celebrate the greatness of this country, and thanks to those people that are putting their lives on the line every single moment to make sure that we can do all the stupid stuff that we do. You can find me at jefftarbell.com, 338-9400. We'll see you next Saturday, everybody. Have a great week and be safe. Go USA Soccer. See ya.
Talkin' Money.